An Israeli-Iranian shadow war has been raging across the border in Syria in recent years, with Iran trying to turn the war-ravaged country into a new front against Israel, and Israel, using intelligence and air power, working hard to prevent the formation of an Iranian war machine to its north. This shadow war is now threatening to drag embattled Syrian President Bashar Al-Assad's regime into the conflict. Damascus has fired on Israeli jets repeatedly, losing many of its air defense batteries to Israeli counter-strikes in the process. And now, Syria is escalating its threats against Israel, saying that it could fire missiles at every part of Israel if strikes on Iranian targets continue. Assad's threats are the result of his growing confidence as the civil war in his country winds down and his territorial base expands. His Russian and Iranian allies remain committed to the welfare of his regime. But if Assad makes good on such threats against Israel, he would end up jeopardizing the future of his regime by exposing it to massive Israeli firepower. The prospect of this has alarmed Assad's great power sponsor, Russia. As a result, Russia is determined to douse the flames of the Iranian-Israeli conflict in Syria. Moscow has, on the one hand, indicated that it takes Israel's security concerns seriously, even going as far to point out that Iran is not an ally. President Vladimir Putin is aware of the fact that Iranian designs for Syria, in the long run, represent a threat to Russia's own plans to stabilize the country, and to Russia's plan to project its power and influence to the Middle East via Syria. But Russia still needs its Iranian Axis partner on the ground to keep stabilizing Assad. At the same time, Russia is trying to deter Israel from continuing its strikes. And to that end, it has deployed advanced S-300 surface-to-air (SAM) missile batteries to Syria to defend itself against Israeli strikes. The Russian decision to transfer the missiles is an attempt to slow down Israel's military campaign in Syria. A severe crisis in Israeli-Russian relations erupted in September, following the downing of a Russian intelligence-gathering plane by errant Syrian missile fire targeting Israeli jets. For Moscow, the incident was a watershed moment, pushing it into firmer steps to try and break up the Iranian-Israeli fight. The problem, however, is that transferring such missiles to Assad could have the opposite effect and could end up being akin to pouring fuel, rather than water, on the fire. In November 2018, satellite imagery first showed the surface-to-air missile battery deployed in Masyaf, in northwest Syria. In recent days, Russia was reported to have informed Israel and other relevant parties that the S-300 will be operational next month, after satellite imagery revealed that it was set to become active imminently. Masyaf has been targeted in the past by reported Israeli strikes. The area hosts a military weapons development center known as the Scientific Studies and Research Center. The site has been linked to Iranian long-range missile production and Syrian chemical weapons development. Such weapons can go to Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, to the Syrian Arab Army, or to Iranian forces that are themselves stationed in Syria. In July 2017, Israel reportedly bombed the site, killing 2 personnel and destroying a target. A year later, Israel reportedly struck the site again. Clearly, dangerous activity occurs at this center. Placing the S-300 at such a problematic and dangerous site only increases the risks of an escalation in Syria. With Russia reportedly announcing that the system will be operational by March, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has set to fly to Moscow this month, presumably to try and defuse the situation. The question is what will happen if Israel detects dangerous activity at Masyaf again, and chooses to act. The Israeli Air Force has likely spent years preparing to overcome the S-300, which Russia has been saying it would transfer to Assad since at least 2013. The IAF has a variety of means to overcome the system, including the stealth F-35 aircraft, which is specifically designed to slip through advanced Russian-made air defense systems. Another key question going forward is whether Assad will have the ability to fire the S-300 missiles on his own, or whether Russia will retain control over the battery. Either way, if the system fires on Israeli jets, it could be destroyed in return. Israeli fired just as 50% of Syrian air defenses were destroyed by Israel in the course of 2018, including SA-17 and SA-5 Russian-made systems. Israel's policy is to destroy each and every Syrian missile battery that fires on its jets. That could push Russia into a corner. The result is a potential collision course in Syria. Only if Moscow is able to prevent the Iranians and Hezbollah from building up their war machine in Syria can this danger be diffused. Yet Russia's ability to do this has, so far, been limited. The coming weeks and months will require a careful balancing act. Yaakov Lapan is an associate researcher at the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies, and a correspondent for Jane's Defense Weekly and the Jewish News Service.